just go out there and ride on feel. Get a bit of consistency under you. Go and enjoy riding again.
I was born in the Northern California.
I also wanted to ask about, because we as cyclists we think about everything about what we're doing on the bike, but Alex was referencing nutrition and hormones, and talk to me about that component of Duchy coaching that I think a lot of people they kind of think of all that stuff last, and how you incorporate that in your coaching.
Yeah, well, I think we always say to guys, you can kind of build the engine of a Ferrari, but if you get to the start line with no petrol in it, you're not going to go anywhere. And I think it's hard to put an exact percentage on it, but to speak generally, most people don't eat enough. A lot of guys who we work with have these kind of sub goals of losing weight, and the mistake they make is thinking that if they underfuel their rides and do these long rides that they're going to burn a load of fat. But actually what happens is the opposite. They underfuel their rides, their body goes into sort of panic starvation mode, and what happens later in the day is they massively have hugely increased sugar cravings, and that increased sugar cravings coincides with the end of a stressful day at work and a busy time at home, putting kids to bed, whatever it is, and then boom, the kind of calorie explosion happens late in the evening, and the chocolate bars and ice cream get consumed, and they are in more of a calorie surplus than if they had fueled their workout. So the first thing we tend to do is do a deep dive on, okay, how have you been fueling your workouts? Let's start with the bike first, and usually we end up getting people to eat more on the bike, and it can be counterintuitive, and actually this is probably a fantastic example, and I think he would be fine with us speaking about this. So we were talking to Nigel from Dubai earlier, a client of ours who's just qualified for World Champs and has improved a hell of a lot in less than a year. And he, over 6 years, this was before working with us, over 6 years, he lost 50 kilos. So this was a big guy, but he lost 50 kilos. I don't know what the conversion is in pounds, but he lost, I mean, he lost the equivalent of a climber. Like he literally, and then I had teammates who are 50 kilos. So clearly, with all the emotional ties to a journey like that, and he lost it through blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, he went about it in the hard way and not the right way, but he did it by just white knuckling, gritting his teeth, and essentially starving himself. And he came to us, and he was underperforming on the bike, and we told him to eat more. And you can imagine the response, like literally a trauma response in his entire body, being like, "Do you know what I have been through these last 5-6 years to lose all this weight?" And we totally could. We knew what a fragile, not fragile, like a really sensitive subject this was for him. So we took it very, very gradually, and he even put on, Alex is his coach, so it was like
an interesting conversation to be had.
He put on a couple of kilos, and of course, all the corresponding stuff of like panic. Am I gonna kind of go back up to however many kilos he was before? But then he started seeing the phenomenal results on the bike, and actually how it also impacted his ability to manage his nutrition off the bike. So yes, he started going faster. Yes, he added 50 watts to his FTP, qualified for the Grand Prix, all this stuff. And the nutrition played a huge part in that, because he was hitting bigger numbers. He had more energy, and he was recovering so much better. And he was so much more, as he was telling us this morning, he was so much more alert, awake, and less overwhelmed at work after his sessions. So, how do we do it at Duchy? Really, as Alex said at the beginning, it's a case-by-case basis. But the first thing we do is look into these guys, like, what have you been doing? What have you been doing? And more often than not, we get them to do like a WhatsApp food diary, where we create a WhatsApp group. So it would be like me, Alex, and Nigel, and we say, look, just for 3 days, a week, if you can possibly handle it, but just take a picture of everything that you're eating. It takes 2 seconds. It's much less onerous than telling us, to count calories and all that stuff. Take a picture, put it in the group, and then we get like actually a really amazing kind of a montage of this person's. We put it on big screen of what this person is eating and when, and we can correlate it with their training. And from there, we can start to make some small sustainable changes. And that's done through, detailed notes that we upload onto Training Peaks and individual conversations. To sum up, I think the biggest kind of movement on performance and well-being, and the guys who have safe, sustainable weight loss goals, the biggest impact, a positive impact that they have seen is by eating more on the bike. Eating more on the bike. I think it really goes back to our kind of primitive caveman types, times where our bodies, if you panic them, if you kind of, it's like a bit of acute starvation. If you do these long rides underfueled, that panic response is like kind of hunter-gatherer. Oh my God, where's my next meal coming from? What happens? It elevates anxiety, of course, it elevates cortisol, and it also massively triggers sugar cravings. Sugar cravings or dense calorie cravings. So these guys who think they're burning their fat on the bike actually end up putting on weight from all this fasted training. So fuel yourself on the bike, and everything will become more manageable off the bike. Fuel yourself on the bike, and you are going to be able to hit better numbers and recover better from your sessions and be a better functioning human being in life. And we do it on a case-by-case basis, and we do it in just like a personalized kind of one-on-one way, knowing that it's quite a sensitive area for some people.
That's awesome. And I also think it's a great reinforcement of why riders need people like you. We get caught up in these thought processes that just aren't accurate. We think, oh, I'm going to ride 150 or to 200 miles a week, and that's how I'm going to get good. And then that backfires, or I'm going to not eat anything on the bike and lose this weight and be looking like a Tour de France rider because I'm so skinny. That backfires. And,
Skinny doesn't work.
Yeah. I love this feedback. I wanted to come to, I know we talked about this in our emails back and forth, but I had a lot of stuff going on the last 2 months that I had these high hopes of 2026 being my great season, and everything got derailed at the worst shape I've been in 3 years right now, and I was really feeling demoralized about it last week. So how do you help a rider who's like, everything's just gone, gone to hell, and now they got to start getting back to it? How do you coach them through that?
Yeah, I'll start with one thing and then I'll throw it over to Alex. But I would say the first thing that we would do in that situation is abandon the numbers. Abandon the numbers. People have been so obsessed with staring at their power meters. But what happens is, you are going to get back on the bike, and you are going to be, well, in terms of what your numbers are doing at the moment, they're probably going to be quite a way off your best. That doesn't mean that there is a huge amount of work to get back to where you were. The difference often feels bigger than it actually is. Usually it's just like a few weeks of training consistently in some openers. But anyway, just abandon the numbers, because you don't need that extra layer of like self-condemnation and doubt and unease, because like 200 watts now feels like 300 watts. So just go out there and ride on feel. Get a bit of consistency under you. Go and enjoy riding again. Go and get in some groups. Enjoy the social side of it. Just find the love again, and do it by really kind of feeling into your body and riding on feel. And if you see a climb and you're feeling great and you want to hit it, then go for it. But just do it off field. Tune out of the numbers for the time being. And I think a lot of this stuff is also keeping it in the day. Let's not extrapolate. Like, it's amazing the things we worried about, the kind of doom and gloom end of the world scenarios about our performance three months ago, or even 3 weeks ago, and then we go and smash a load of PBs, and forget all about those times where we thought, oh, this is the end for me. God, I'm going so badly. I'm so sluggish. So kind of just keep it in the day. What can I do today to move my performance? And what can I do today to make like a good, principled, rational training decision? And I think when you're, maybe in the state you're in now, the first thing I would say is just get rid of those numbers, put your Garmin, Wahoo, whatever it might be in your back pocket, and just go and ride your bike for the love of it. While we all started riding bikes, it wasn't staring at numbers and getting depressed by them. Going out with your mates, it was smashing hills, it was just having fun.
That is awesome. I love it. That is so good. Yeah. Great points there for sure.
You just said the same thing that I was about to say. Just bend the numbers off. But also, I think there's also like a psychological element to it here. Stop comparing yourself to your past self. That's the biggest one. Because we always gravitate. Oh, 6 months ago, I used to do 290 watts. Now I can only do like 205. That's in the past. I like to say, if you did it once, you'll do it again. Just like in the beginning, the best thing is don't look at the numbers. Easier said than done. As I said before, we're all driven by numbers these days. Then you open social media and this guy did this amount of watts. You open Strava as this. And like, it's easier said than done to zone out of this. But like, if you can do that, like it's going to do you a world of difference. Like not just for your case, but like for everyone. But it's very, very hard just because we like to compare ourselves to our past selves, to our like peers, friends, and etc. We're always comparing to something. Like we're always trying to benchmark to whatever's in front of us. So that's what I say to people is like I prescribe like no Garmin rides. Just like don't even record the ride. Just go out and ride. It's as simple as that. Just go out and ride. And it's just like just accept the point you're in. Like it's not gonna last forever. It's not this period shall pass. Like it would, as everything it shall pass. It might feel like it's dragging as an eternity, but it's gonna pass. And I feel like just like having that like flexible mindset. Okay, like hey, it's not optimal what I'm doing now. I'm not like where I want to be, but I know where I'm going. You know what I mean? Just like you can just like take off boxes slowly, and you don't. If you need to ride by feel and just ignore the numbers for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, do it. Eventually, life calms down and you can just like start training, like implement structure and just take it from there. I just try to have like the simplest approach as I can.
That's awesome. Yeah, this has been fantastic. I can see why you guys have such success with your riders. Are there any other final tips or thoughts that you would want to share?
I just want to chime in on the conversation on the topic you covered before that. One thing that we have to also keep in mind, like when we're talking about nutrition and these things, with a lot of aerobic work, our bodies will become catabolic, meaning you're going to lose muscle mass. So if you're not taking off the gym and if your hormones ain't healthy, so if you don't have a healthy blood panel, you can kiss good power goodbye and also kiss your muscle mass goodbye. But that also means it's going to impact you hormonally. So like if we're talking about males, like you know like what hormones do to you, like they like destroy completely everything. So you're not able to sleep, you're not able to function, and you're not able to do anything. So just like a word of caution to like everyone out there, like you need to like keep your body healthy. Your body is your temple. So if you're not gonna keep it healthy, you can buy a Ferrari, but if you're gonna put a diesel, in the tank, it's not gonna even start. Like the engine will seize up right from the very beginning.
Great.
Yeah, I think probably my closing remarks would be to anyone listening who also has a full-on busy life. What we find when guys come on board is they are so convinced that life exists over here in this neat box and training exists over here in this neat box, and it's compartmentalized. The two have nothing to do with one another. They can continue training however they want, regardless of what's happening with life. But actually, all this stuff, what we say to our clients a lot is we talk about the sum total of all the stresses. That's what you're trying to manage. You know, if that means that actually you have to do 3 weeks of just feathering your form, just maintaining, not building any CTL and not, building any fitness in inverted commas, because actually your youngest kid is sick and then you've got that deal at work and then you've got that international travel, then actually that is the best, most productive way to train, is to not try and ramp your CTL up, your chronic training load up in that time, is to just feather it, just drop it back to some 5-hour weeks of just spinning the legs, a few openers here and there, maybe a short Strava segment just to keep, remind your body what going hard feels like. And then once that life stress dissipates, then you can keep training, then you can keep building form, then you can increase the training stress. And if you do that, if you start understanding that what you are doing is you are managing training amongst life and the two have to exist in like a symbiotic way, you start training consistently. You start stringing together weeks, months, years where you don't have to take big chunks of time off the bike. However, if you follow, like, don't mean to badmouth them, but a trainer road plan, and you are in a 3 week build phase, and in the third week, that big week, actually, work is incredibly stressful. You're not sleeping as well because of same example, but one of your kids is sick. Yet you still go and do that build week on the bike. That's where everything goes pop. That's where eventually, and it might not happen if you do it one time, but it's going to happen eventually. That's where we see the wheels come off when you are unwilling to adapt your training to the demands of life. And that is what we are doing here as busy people who are trying to ride our bikes fast. It can be complex at times. It's much more complex than the 20-year-old who rides his bike and watches Netflix. But if you do it right, there's no reason why you can't absolutely fly. And often you absolutely fly with less training than you think you need.
Cause in this life, it drifts like waves to low secret shores. Yeah, it's like